Oh, welcome. And I'm so grateful to have you here with me today as we begin the process of reading Junebug. And again, I'm so grateful for any and all of you that have purchased Junebug and know the story and would love for you to any questions you have as we go along, please hop in there. Like Junebug was created to start a dialogue, right? Around whatever it is that it pulls up in you. So please reach out. And without further ado, now my two best friends here were Ginger and my little dog Chi-Chi. Peggy was a friend of my mom's, and she had quite a few horses. They lived on a little farm across town. Peggy bought a registered fox-trotting mare that had bred with a quarter horse, which made the foal worthless to them. They were just waiting to get their mare. She was a good brood mare, and to them, the season was wasted. But when it came foal time, she talked to my mom about gifting me this little filly. This is truly dead soft spot animals, except for cats. He's scared to death of them. We have them, but only in the barn to keep the mice down. They aren't allowed in the house. He made a superficial fuss about what it would cost to feed her, but we brought her home right after she was weaned from her mother. She was sad and a little angry about it. Ginger and I fell instantly in love. We were a perfect match, we were both out of the loop. We were both waffling between fear and sadness and anger. She had just been weaned from her mother when she came to live with us. She was alone in a new place. I was alone in an old familiar place. She has this beautiful apricot coat with a crooked white blaze down her nose. I got to name her, and I don't care what they say. She's perfect and worth everything to me. She's my best friend. We grew up together. Together, we're not alone. Together, we have freedom and understanding. She's the only one that knows everything. Now, my friend Chi-Chi was acquired through a trade. Much to my poor little brother Sam's horror, Dad left that morning with his pony, and he came home with a chihuahua. Sam asked a bazillion questions about his new dog. What kind of dog is it? Is it is it going to be mine, my very own? How long will I get to take it? How long will it take for you to bring her home to me? As Dad loaded the pony in the trailer, he explained to Sam that he was trading his pony for a dog. Yes, a dog of your very own. Your pony, your dog. Now, Sam had in his head a dog, a real dog of his very own, one that he could run and play with. And he was so excited, right? Hours later, here comes Dad. The trailer's empty. We rush to meet him in the drive. We're all four piled around the cab of the truck. And we're all excited to see Sam's new puppy. But the cab of the truck is empty. Kenny and I, we look at each other. He shrugs his shoulders, and Sam's face is looking disappointed. Dad, he can't get out of the car fast enough. He's already chuckling, anticipating Sam's reaction. Sam impatiently asks, well, where's my dog? Dad points to his shirt pocket. Now he's laughing, and he takes this teeny little thing from his pocket and holds her out to Sam. Grinning, he says, she rode the whole way home, right here in my pocket. And he's patting his chest. Sam looks at her in total disbelief. and the tears are welling up in his eyes. You traded my pony for that? You said a dog. The tiny creature fits in the palm of my father's hands. Dad explains. She's a purebred Chihuahua. Right? When she gets all grown, she's only going to be about 3 pounds. And at this point, Sam's tears just begin in earnest. How could you leave with my pony and come home with a mouse? And I feel sorry for him, but intrigued at the same time, and by this tiny little creature. This little thing's worth a hell of a lot more than that pony, Dad tells him. Sam doesn't care about that. All he knows is his pony was traded for a puppy no bigger than a mouse. Storming off to his room, Sam feels totally betrayed. For me, it was love at first sight. She is so tiny. Can I hold her? Handing her to me, Dad says, I want to breed her. We could make some money off her pups. And he pulls out the papers and he shows them to Mom. How could something this small have babies? 3 pounds. I can feel her heart. 3 pounds, full grown. Now I can feel her tiny heartbeat in the palm of my hand. And I nuzzle her to my cheek. She's perfect. Her and Sam, well, they don't like each other too much. He's always grabbing and she's always snapping. So Chi-Chi becomes my baby. And I carry that little dog everywhere. Wherever Ginger and I go, she goes. Chi-Chi, she gets a crash course, and with her own eyes, she sees everything. The 3 of us become inseparable. Now, until high school, I went to a small Catholic school right up the street from Grandma's. It was perfect, my not being so good with people and all. I went to a school with pretty much the same 25 kids through the 8th grade. Every now and again, a new kid comes or someone leaves, but not very often. We went to church every morning and confession every Friday afternoon. So church twice on Friday, counting confession. The only day I didn't go to church was Saturday. The school was situated next to the grand old church. We were marched to church every morning in a line, taking our places in the pew, little kids in the front. And we were seated according to grade. Now, the church was magnificent. It sat atop a hill right in the center of town. Its steeple could be seen for miles. This was a place of escape and prison, all rolled into one. The ceremony was beautiful, if I didn't think about it too hard. Eating Jesus's body didn't feel so right. Plus, it was filled with Latin words that I couldn't understand. Somehow, between the art and the amount of the prayers that have filled the space, my body was filled with hope. I felt safe there beneath the exquisite art that filled the sky's high ceilings. The sacristy was a convergence of angels with the pinnacle, a stained glass dome. The walls, all the way around the whole building, were stained glass. The stations of the cross played out through the windows. Massive beams held up the choir loft, and the ceiling rose high above. Between the beams, the ceiling was filled with symbols and stars. There was never a lack of something to look at. At the very back of church were the confessionals. The little wooden closet doors were beautifully carved. Inside was dark and small, with a sliding door so that if you wanted to, or they wanted to, you could be seen. Now on confession day, I would sit waiting for my turn to tell the priest my sentence for the past week. I would think and think, knowing I did terrible things. Dad thought so anyway. I just couldn't remember what they were. So I would conjure up something and hope the Hail Marys would help me stay out of trouble. Now, I never quite understood this God. By 2nd grade, I was questioning. This God felt different. I didn't understand about the babies and the baptism thing. Why would God create a baby and then decide if the parents didn't pour water over its head, it should be thrown away? Why even live then if you are destined to an eternity in hell? I'm not sure parents should have that much power. I think they have enough already. Now, I spent a lot of time in the hall for my constant stream of questions. It seemed no one saw the layers, all the behind the scenes stuff, or they pretended not to. God doesn't have layers, does he? Like, what about the priest who was fooling around with all the other rich ladies, driving around in his fancy car? He thought no one knew. Or was it that he knew no one would challenge him in his godlike station? Or what about the priest who seemed good, but different? Some talked that he was gay. There were whispers. I didn't know what that meant. And I liked him well enough. He was just a little different. That didn't matter. So was I. Now, Father Eddie was a dear friend of my grandmother's. He was one of the good guys and one of the few men I could trust. I loved him. Grandma did a lot of talking to get me and my brothers in school there. Dad was not going to pay for school. So Father let us go for free. We got free lunch a whole lot of the time. And when I was little, he'd pull me from class and he would carry me around the school on his shoulder while he did his rounds. I was his little fluff muffin. I would go back to class feeling a little puffed up and important. He wasn't so nice to all the kids, though. He had quite a temper, but it never turned my way. In the end, they're all just people. God doesn't come dressed in a black suit. Uncle John, he's 6 years older than me. He went to school with me when I was really little. He was always upstairs. It made me feel better knowing he was there. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of him when he was running errands. If I was lucky, he would end up outside at recess together. He would often make a point of coming over and seeing how I was doing. And if I was lucky, I got a full-blown hug. He was really cute and really popular. And I felt pretty special, what with all the girls drooling. They're all whispering, and they're all wishing they're me, at least for a second. When I was in the second grade, the teacher was late one day. And all 25 kids are locked out in the hall. Everyone's talking about their night before. And these situations are hard. I never know what to talk to other people about. Early on, I learned it gets pretty awkward when I talk about what happened at my house last night. So I usually keep quiet. Class has begun for everyone else. And one of my closest people friends, Sally, notices my barrette, and she gets the bright idea that we should pick the lock. Now, the rest of the kids think it's a pretty good idea too, so they all chime in. Come on, do it. They do it in the movies all the time. Oh, come on, we're tired of standing out here. I want to go in. And I'm thinking, well, it's not so smart, but maybe if I do this, they'll like me and we'll have something fun to talk about. So after lots of convincing, I take the barrette from my hair and I begin the process of picking the lock. Well, of course, the barrette breaks off. And while I'm struggling to get it out, the teacher shows up. Everyone plays dumb. June did it, they say, and they throw me directly under the bus. Now, luckily, the door has a window above it, one of those transom things. And she calls for the janitor, hoping to get someone to climb through and open it from the other side. It doesn't take long for them to decide that a grown-up man can't fit through the window. So a decision is made. Send for one of the older boys from upstairs. Excuse me. So a decision is made. Send for one of the older boys from upstairs. Oh my gosh. I just couldn't believe it. Guess who they send down? The smallest boy in the 8th grade, my Uncle John. I just take off running. How humiliating. Uncle John, this cannot be happening. I lock myself in a stall in the bathroom and I won't come out. Standing outside the door, Mrs. Evans talks and talks, trying to reassure me. You're not in trouble, June. I think you've already learned your lesson. There's no punishment that could be worse than what you're doing to yourself right now. Silence. No one's perfect. Everything has worked out just fine. The door's open. Come on back to class now. She gets nothing in return but more silence, and I'm completely still on the other side. I'm trying so hard to be invisible. We're not going to tell your parents, Jim. I lean in with my nose to the crack, my eyes on the floor. John knows. Yes, but we've talked. This is going to stay between us. John isn't going to say anything to anyone. I open the door a little to peek out. What about Grandma? She'll be so disappointed. Mrs. Evans seizes this opportunity and she pulls the door open and scoops me into her arms. It's okay now. Let's go back to class. I can't. I have to come back sometime. She brings me back to the classroom holding my hand. She must have spoken to the class because no one said a word. John never mentioned it on the walk home to Grandma's after school. Not a word. He held true. I felt as if I had slid past this one. Now, almost immediately upon the conception of my oldest daughter, the flashback started. My mind had been blank of any memories of childhood. I was, by all accounts, Miss Happy-Go-Lucky, as if I had amnesia. I lived in the moment with no thoughts of the past, except for the constant underlying nagging to remember. But remember what? Then the pictures started. Flashbacks of terror, flashbacks of pain, near death. With this new life growing inside, I felt the contrast between what I had versus what should be, and the desire for joy versus pain for my little one, safety. I need to know what happened to me so I don't make the same mistakes. I can't have her getting hurt. And I become consumed with the need to protect this precious life that's growing inside of me. Can I do this? How can I be a mother? What do I do with all these pictures? No one around me notices the cracks that are appearing, severing my reality. Which side is true? This movie that I've been living has a feeling of missing scenes. Am I crazy? Dad's real reason for leaving the army is always floating around. He has that crazy paper. If he's really my father, then maybe I'm crazy too. Maybe this is how it starts. I just need to act normal, blend in, right? Talking about it seems to make everyone uncomfortable, so I try just to keep quiet. Everything around me is feeling like a trigger. I'm now living with a man, trying to be a wife, sex. Now I'm a mother. So thank you for joining me here today. And please grab your copy of Junebug and start the conversation with the girls in your family and the young boys. And let's see if we can create a new trajectory for the youth and humans on our planet, right? Pick up your copy of Junebug at CherieDoyen.com on the books page. Have a great day.